I'm not trying to talk out of school or talk bad about anybody, but I could not get over how skinny he was. And I've seen a lot of people fighting for their lives over the years. As most of you know, I lost my sister to the C word. And I say that because I don't even like saying it. But he looked really bad. And I mean, to the point where I thought it was AI. Because he was so thin. He still had that big smile and still had that, Dodgers hat on. But for those that aren't from Indianapolis, or maybe you've heard of Bob and Tom, going back even when I was a kid, a young child in the 80s, Bob and Tom were one of the first, they call not rock jocks, shock jocks, like Howard Stern. Howard Stern and Bob and Tom were really the two guys that, that went into syndication far beyond the parameters of their little, FM listening audience in whatever state that they were in. Bob and Tom, for example, from little old Indianapolis, Indiana, and they were the morning guys. Morning guys on FM radio, for those that are younger and you have no idea what radio is, that used to be, that was your morning drive. And depending on how far you had to drive into work, these people became like family. Because remember, you didn't have one of these. You didn't have anything else to listen to. When they first came on, you were, high end if you had a cassette player in your car to listen to, and then not everybody wants to listen to music in the morning. Like me, I've gotten, the kids make fun of me because God, you're old. You're like, oh man, yeah, I am an old man in a lot of ways because I don't listen to music, especially when I'm working anymore. It changes, controls my emotions too much. I am a big fan of music. It can make me very happy, very sad, very angry. It can all of these things. And when you're in law enforcement, the last thing that you want is, a cop rolling up to a call that's listening to Blind from Korn. That's just gotten, it puts you on another level. So just listening to talk radio, and I really wouldn't even listen, just to have voices in the background, just to keep you company. So those morning guys and gals or whoever you listen to on the radio, they became like family. You listen to them every day. And Bob and Tom I remember my early days as an adult. My first job and all of that, I felt like had arrived. As most of you know, I was a young husband and father at an early age. So my first real job, I felt like I was an adult. I listened to Bob and Tom on the way to work in the morning, and I did all of those things. So, what those two guys meant, and Christy Lee was another voice on there. Chick McGee, he was the sports guy. It was, basically them talking and doing skits. I have, as a lot of you know, I'm a big fan of, someone else that's passed, rest in peace, my birthday brother, Ron Sexton, who got his start on the Bob and Tom show, calling in, and later became widely known as the character Donnie Baker. And if you have no idea who Donnie Baker is, check him out. Check some of his videos out still, going back to I've got a boat for sale, so's your wife, Mitchell. That whole thing, Donnie Baker was one of my most favorite all-time comedians for whatever reason. He would wear a wig, a mullet wig. I have a picture of him right here, but I'm not pulling the poster off the wall. But you can check him out, and I'm not screwing with the TikTok Live studio at the moment pop up a picture. I'll just pull one up. But his I got a cameo from him. I got a cameo from him for Father's Day here 5-6 years ago before he passed away, and it was by far one of my favorite all-time gifts I'd ever received from anybody. It was just absolutely incredible. And he went on, like, I don't think I've ever posted that. I may have posted a clip about it, but he went on and on and on. It was close to 5 minutes that cameo that he made for me, which was super cool. But going back to wrap all of this in my rant before I get into anything else, to hear that Bob passed away today, Ted, thank you for letting me know. Obviously, I usually keep up. For, as most of you know, I'm in the great state of Florida at the moment, and we'll be down here for the foreseeable future, at least through the remainder of the spring, unless something changes. But I still keep up on all things Indianapolis that's there. So I'd been keeping up on Bob's journey. I knew he'd that's why he left. He's been struggling with that horrendous disease for quite some time. Luis, thank you so much for the follow, man. And it just sucks, man. I lost my sister in 2019 to the brain form of that horrific disease, and we went from finding out to her funeral in just under 3 months. So if you think that those things can't happen fast, man, they really can. Thank you for everyone that's here, that's stopping by. Please smash that screen if you would. Give me a like, give me a share. I haven't been on here in quite some time. I'm trying to get things back to where they were. That's why I'm going live. I always went live late anyways, but you all know as well as I do, this day and age, you're either you can be easily forgotten. So not that I'm trying to not to be forgotten. I am trying to get back on the horse, for lack of a better term. And I haven't been super, I've had a lot of things going on personally that I won't get into. I've talked, I think, enough about all that, or at least as much as I want to, at the moment. But let me see. It's, I will say this, and that's how I ended up down here in Florida. But it's been a journey, and good Lord, people always say good Lord doesn't give you more than you can handle, and I believe that. I also believe that everything happens for a reason, even though you may have no idea what that reason may be. So it's just difficult to deal with sometimes. So let me see. You all need a franchise. What, Felix? I am getting ready for the draft. I'm a little less excited about the draft this year for obvious reasons, because, and hell, I should be used to it at this point, right? This will be within the past 5 years, this will be the third time? No, second, right? It'll be the second time we haven't had in the past 5 years that we haven't had a first round pick. And that, it just exactly, if you hear the screams, that's exactly how I feel about it. And not only that, and that's why I complained so much when that trade happened. And I started really going off about this the other night. And I say going off because it will highly raise my blood pressure once I start to go down this road. We have a general manager and a head coach, and I just say regime because I'm not pushing or focusing blame here or there or whatever. I I know Chris Ballard better than I know Shane Steichen. I've met Shane Steichen a couple of times. Nice guy from when I interacted with him. And, Chris Ballard, the same. An incredible human being. There's nobody else, that I would say that is a nicer, more compassionate person in a role like that you would want representing the city of Indianapolis, state of Indiana, and the Horseshoe. However, I have plenty of complaints about how the direction this team has gone, and that's what's most important, right? I've been a Colts fan, as most of you know, since March 28, 1984, the day they landed in Indianapolis on the Mayflower, and I've seen and have lived through some really, really tough and bad times. And as I talked about the other night, in 1998, that was it. When we drafted Peyton Manning, it was like, okay, the dark days are over. Dark days are over. Bad times, see ya. They're in the rear view. Things will never get that bad as what we'd lived through those first, early years and infancy years of the Colts being in Indianapolis. Because there was a lot of stuff that I witnessed even as a kid. We're talking, owners calling plays from the owner suite at the Dome, those sort of things. And like I bitched about the other night, excuse my language, like I bitched about the other night, it's not rocket science. This is football. This is football, folks. This isn't rocket science. And what just grinds my gears so bad is you have coach after coach, general manager, team president, owner, whoever the case may be, that's in positions of authority and power within different franchises in the National Football League, that their main goal, it's not to win ball games, it's not to win championships, it's not anything else, because their main focus is the guy looking at them in the mirror. They want to be known as the next Bear Bryant, or the next Vince Lombardi, or the next Bill Polian, for lack of a better term. Because since Bill Polian's departure from Indianapolis, I think if anybody ever paid attention or was old enough to be awake to watch the things that went on in the Circle City, prior to 2012, Bill Polian did not get he did not get the respect or the appreciation as he should have. And that's what happens. That's what happens with teams. That's going to be what happens. I hope that's not what happens for those of you that are in Kansas City. When you have a team and you have a franchise that has, that has not been good, for lack of a better term, that has not been good for so many years. And then all of a sudden, you get a franchise guy, just like in Kansas City. You get Patrick Mahomes. That's their franchise guy, just like we had, Peyton Manning. You truly get accustomed to winning no less. You have an 11-win season. There were times during the Peyton Manning era where we had 11-win seasons or whatnot. It's like, oh, man, what are we doing? 11-win seasons. This current regime, I don't think Colts fans understand, or if you're not a Colts fan, you understand how bad you have to be to not win the division in the AFC South for over a decade. Like, you almost have to try to be that bad. We are talking not only one of the, during that time period, not only one of the worst divisions in pro football, we're talking one of the worst divisions in pro sports. The AFC South. The Indianapolis Colts, the 2006 No, I don't count anything like Baltimore Colts. Like, I am not that guy. I'm a Colts fan because they represent my city. They did not, in my little mind's eye, exist before March 28th, 1984. I didn't care about the Colts. Nobody in Indianapolis cared about the Colts. There was no location proximity. There was no association with the city of Baltimore or that team from anybody in Indianapolis, let alone the state of Indiana at all. That's why it took a long time for adults who were in Indy, who were adults in 1984, they never really got on to the Colts train. Because if you're mid-20s, mid-30s, definitely 40s and above, in 1984, and all of a sudden your hometown gets a football team, you'll support them because they're your hometown, but you're not going to become an overnight fan. You've probably been a fan of the Bears or the Bengals or whomever, Steelers, whatever, Cowboys. You were a fan of another team somewhere else for many, many years. So that's why it took. I watched it firsthand. I was able to. Ray, thank you so much for the follow, man. I was blessed enough. For those that know me, I've talked about my childhood more than a few times on here. We didn't have a pot to piss in or a window to throw it out of. My mom raised me we didn't have food or electricity half the time. So, but one thing that I was blessed with is my best friend. His family was well-to-do. And his grandparents owned multiple businesses in downtown Indianapolis, along with residential and commercial property. When the Colts first came to Indy, the city reached out to business owners in Indianapolis, getting them to buy season tickets, to make a donation, for lack of a better term. And his grandparents did. They bought 4 season tickets that were great seats at the newly constructed Hoosier Dome at the time, and they never went to a football game. I think they were season ticket holders for 20 years, I think, and I don't think either one of them ever attended a football game. Those tickets were always given away. So especially that in 84, 85, 86, 87, Colts finally had some success after we picked up, traded for Eric Dickerson, but I was able to go to a lot of games. Is my point. And when you would go to these games, it wouldn't be a sea of blue. You would have people that would get free tickets just like I did, or from their company, or that were gifted tickets or whatnot. Nobody was buying tickets to go see the Colts on Sundays in the 80s. Wasn't happening. It wasn't a sea of blue. It looked like, and I pointed this out to my wife the other night, and I can't remember what game it was. The crowd was, I know what it was. It was the old, not Saturday night's main event, but the old main event where Hulk Hogan and Andre the Giant wrestled, was at Market Square Arena, and it was on a Friday, so it wasn't Saturday night's main event, it was just the main event. It was on a Friday. I remember, my friend who I talked to you about, his dad took us to a bar, because they had it on pay-per-view, because it was blacked out in Indianapolis. You had to go. And I was a big WWF wrestling fan, Hulkamaniac. And that's the night Hulk lost the title to Andre the Giant. But I showed my wife that moment the other night, and my daughter, and the crowd stood out. And it's still on Peacock. Shout out to Peacock, because they still have all the Saturday night's main event and all of those matches. Those did not make the move over to ESPN. The background of the crowd, they were all people in just regular clothes. You saw some IU, you saw a lot of Indiana Hoosier sweatshirts, you saw a lot of Purdue sweatshirts, you saw a lot of that. You didn't see a bunch of Hulkamania t-shirts, you didn't see signs, you didn't see all of that. It wasn't, there was not a theme, there wasn't a color, there wasn't merchandise, wasn't what it is today. And the same about Colts games for many years from when the Colts first came here. people would wear, and most of the time the crowd was brown, bland, khaki, different shades of brown and orange, because it was whatever people wore to church. So you got Joe Smith and his wife. They run down to the Hoosier Dome. They'll catch a Colts game after they go to church on Sunday. Go down and see what this new team's all about. And they were terrible. They were absolutely terrible. I am a product. What you see, I am a product, and I'm not even kidding when I say this. I am a product of, I'm a product of programming. I'm a product of brainwashing. I am a product of, you want to hear people talk about conspiracies and what indoctrinating kids and doing this or doing that, and what they say in public schools. I am a product of that. And this is Exhibit A. Because they literally taught us Indianapolis Colts curriculum in school in 84, 85, 86. I remember up to like 1986. It was done through the Indianapolis Star News, which was our morning and afternoon newspaper in the Indianapolis Star. And it was every week. We had a Colts corner. We had a bulletin board up in the corner. And every week, it would highlight different players. It would highlight a different position. And we would have tests weekly on what the position was, what the different signs were, what officials. They literally had to teach people in the state of Indiana the game of football. Indiana was a basketball state. We had no football teams. We had nobody we were excited about football about. So it was football was a niche market. It had a niche fan base. So they literally, the powers to be, and this was genius, absolute genius. They literally said, you know what? We know we're not going to make the adults now big Colts fans. We know that's not going to happen. We've got a rough 10 years ahead of us. But they say what? A generation is what? Roughly 25 years-ish is what they talk about as a generation. They made the investment in the youth in the state of Indiana, in the city of Indianapolis, and they planted the seed. Not only did they plant the seed of football, but they planted the seed of the horseshoe in the kids through our schools. Do you think my parents knew that? I may have talked about it when I got home, because I was a big, I was a big football fan. So when we got a team and I got to see my town talked about on a national stage, that Monday Night Football game, our first Monday Night Football game ever in the city of Indianapolis, was against the Denver Broncos. And we got a Monday Night Football game, I believe it was 87. It was on Halloween. Eric Dickerson ran off, and the Colts beat the absolute brakes off of John Elway and the Denver Broncos in that 56,000 seat capacity Hoosier Dome. And it was like, I will never, ever forget that till the day I die. I may forget my name. I may not remember what I ate for breakfast, but I will always remember that game and the feeling that I felt. And I didn't get to go because, of course, those 4 tickets they had, the adults wanted those. It was a big deal. But getting to see the blimp over the city of Indianapolis for the first time, because even the Indy 500, the blimp would come, but it was always blacked out. Indy 500's always been blacked out on TV in Indianapolis. So on race day in Indy, you always listen to it on the radio. Like that's a thing. That's tradition. You tune in, you listen to it on the radio, and then they show a replay later on after the race is over, after race day. But if you don't attend the race in person, you can't watch it on TV. And the same with Colts games. And that was the other part of it. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that was the first Colts home game that was televised in the Indianapolis market. Because I don't know if many of you know, that rule still applies. Colts fans have just gotten accustomed to it. If the Colts stop selling out games, the local games, the home games, will be blacked out. You will not be able to watch them on TV. So I became a fan with only watching, being able to see, unless I went in person, 7 televised games a season. That doesn't help you when you're trying to build a fan base in a market that is not made for football, right? So that when you hear me start to complain and bitch and moan about whatever I'm talking about, and people perpetrating being Colts fans online and this, that, and the other, it's because I take it personal. I truly, truly take it personal. So when you've got, a guy in Dallas, Texas, who's never stepped foot in Indiana or anything else, be a fan, but please know you do not speak for the Colts fan base. It's people in the city of Indianapolis, your law enforcement, your public safety, restaurant owners, waiters, waitresses, servers, people who park cars, you name it. We all have always depended a great deal on the success of this team because it literally translates to being more money in the pockets of everyone around there. So, yeah, we have for those of us that have been doing this a while, we have a little different take and approach on that. And it means a little something different. So when you've got some guy who's, trying to, not do a 9-to-5 job and he keeps just trying to find different things to become, to go viral about, to find something to consistently talk about on social media, there's been a void with the Colts. Early on, you go back 2019, first few years up until about 2023, I was really the only one on social media that ever talked about the Colts. I still have people that are like, wow, I've never seen a Colts fan before. That's fine. That's great. But then all of a sudden, you started to see these people who didn't want to go to work full time, which I don't blame you. Who does want to do that, right? But they found a void. And I know this because I've gone back and I've done digging. I'm like, where is this person from? I'm curious. Anytime I meet a Colts fan, I use air quotes every time, meet a Colts fan that doesn't live in Indy, 99% of the time, up until about 2023, 99.8% of the time, they have an association to the city of Indianapolis or the state of Indiana in some way, shape, or form, with the exception of those UT fans from Tennessee who became fans because of Peyton Manning. That's it. Why else would you become a Colts fan? Especially in a post-Peyton Manning era. But, yeah, I will go on about that for hours and hours because that really grinds my gears. But going to the race this year, I'm not sure. Last 2 years ago was the first time I hadn't worked the race in, 15 years? And it was a different, oh man, I didn't know this. All right, I just got a text. A documentary about Hulk Hogan is coming out next Wednesday on Netflix. Can't wait. Cannot wait. Looking forward to that. Not sure about the race yet. I will be back in Indy very, very soon, as most of you know. I mentioned a while ago. I am in Florida. I'm in Tampa. And I don't know how much longer I will be here, but at least for the foreseeable future, working the race and Grand Prix. And that's what I miss, man. That first year that I didn't, I'm like, this is amazing. Love it. Love not having to be there because, again, I took it for granted. I took for granted just I not being able to go. You know what I mean? I always went as a kid. I won't say always, but a lot of times more than most kids my age went. My dad was a yellow shirt out there, or my uncle was. My uncle did it a lot longer than my dad did, but that was one thing because they liked to party. So of course they wanted to go to the race, and I was just a kid that they went by default. You know what I mean? Not like nowadays where everything's centered around your kids. Back then we were, kids were a reminder in the 80s. Kids were a reminder of, as my Uncle Wayne once told me, of the effing you get for the effing you got. And true words have never been spoken. I tell you that. I'm like, Uncle Wayne, he was my great uncle, by the way, who got into a fist fight. I've got a lot of crazy Craig family lore. Who got into a fist fight with Hank Williams Sr. And I remember hearing this story when I was a kid, not knowing who Hank Williams was. Wasn't until I got older did I appreciate the story, because he slept with his, I think it was his wife. Wife, girlfriend, something along those lines. And my Uncle Wayne, my grandpa, and his other two brothers, they were traveling musicians. They were musicians. My Uncle Wayne had a twin brother named Wendell. Wayne and Wendell, identical twins. And man, they were good looking. All of them had a head full of hair too. I don't know where the hell that came from. Uncle Wayne had a nice slick back head full of dark salt. It was finally salt and peppered hair until the day he died. I'm like, oh man, y'all were what's good, man? So they were tearing stuff up, man. Thoughts on Kenny Moore? And I haven't talked about Kenny Moore yet. Here's the thing, and I said this the other night, and Colts fans, if any of you are here, don't at me, and welcome those that are joining from YouTube and Twitter or X. Welcome as well. For those that don't agree with me, that's fine. And I really hope that I'm wrong. I truly, truly do. I hope that I'm wrong. And I say this every preseason, going into the draft, before the season starts. And I used to always be just very optimistic. I cannot, and nor should anyone. Nor should, if you are a fan of the horseshoe, you should not be 100% optimistic. Like, good thoughts and all that, putting that out in the universe, that's all great. But if you know ball and you watch the moves that this franchise has made and has not made, and where we are and what we've done, the biggest precursor for future behavior is what? Past behavior. So to hear these fans not from Indy talk all this nonsense, because their whole goal is to try to get you to believe that they are just for the shoe, baby, and they would never disagree with anything the team ever said or did. Well, I tell you, I am constantly disagreeing with moves that the team makes, especially over the past decade. And if I had to predict how many wins that we get going into this season, and keep in mind we're April the 18th. It's 1:52 in the a.m. Good morning to you on Superman Day, April the 18th here on the East Coast. If I had to predict, I would say A, the Colts do not win more than 9 games. That's my safe prediction. We do not win more than 9 games, and I believe we're more in 6 or 7. And I had a couple of folks the other night like, what are you talking about? Blah, 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 blah. One, it's Daniel Jones. This team, and I'm going to try and keep my blood pressure down here, when I bring this up, we literally mortgaged our future and bet the farm, gave up everything, making Daniel Jones our franchise quarterback over at least 3 seasons, last year, this year, and at least next year. We mortgaged our future for Daniel Jones, And because before ever even naming him our starting quarterback, after 7 games. And what I mean by starting quarterback is our long-term guy. This is the guy we're going to go with. Hell, I don't even believe they told Daniel Jones, this is the guy, hey, we plan on sticking with you. No, we all figured that out by default when you trade away your 2 first-round picks for the next 2 seasons. What in the hell are we doing? What are we doing? And as I preach and I preach and I preach, this goes back to what, the thought I started to say a while ago, when you've got all these guys that are trying to be the next Bear Bryant, the next Vince Lombardi, the next all this. They try to reinvent the wheel of football. They try to be, they don't care about winning for the shoe. They don't care about winning for the city. They don't care about winning for the future. They care about winning for the guy in the mirror. That's all they give a damn about. And if they lose game after game and season after season, it doesn't matter to them if they, as long as they look like they drafted well or they did something good with one guy, even though that player may go and be successful elsewhere. Well, hey, I had an eye for that, right? Like, stop it. We currently, until anyone shows me different, prove me wrong, we do not have a team in Indianapolis for the Colts. We have a roster of individuals. And that will not change until you get rid of names like Jonathan Taylor. I don't know why or how so many people that consider themselves Colts fans were so quick to forgive a guy that put his hood up, crossed his arms, dug his heels in the dirt, and refused to play because he was going to take his toys and go home because he wanted more money. If he gave a damn about the fans, the city, for the shoe, for the team, for the future, all those 3 things that says on the towel here, that is a promotional towel that they handed out last season. If you have anybody that cares about any of that, he would say, look, we finally, for the first time, drafted a quarterback in my tenure here in Indianapolis. Not only did we draft a quarterback, we drafted one with the 4th overall pick. Anthony Richardson's first interaction and experience with the captain of the offense in Indianapolis, the guy that every interview, the first interview AR ever did, was this guy was brought up. It was, how does it feel knowing you're going to be in the backfield, have JT with you in the backfield? That was it. And the first time that these 2 interact at the complex for training camp, JT puts his hood up and is pounding over in the corner and continues to do so all preseason, going so far as stomping around to go demand a trade from the owner. That has 0 to do with the shoe, the city, the fans, nada. He didn't care. He did not care. When you have someone like that, and I get it, people are like, that's what the game's about. No, it's not. When you start to split hairs and you look at teams that win a Lombardi, that win a championship, that win a title, that are deep playoff teams. Like, when it comes down to, games like we had at home against the Texans 2 seasons ago, all we had to do was win 1 game, and we would win the division for the first time in a decade. A home game, a Saturday night evening game. It's like, I think it was the only game going on in the league at the time. You had the entire nation with their eyes on you. You got to prove all the naysayers wrong. That was your opportunity to step up and do big things. Because you've been talking about it. You at the time we had likes of Zaire Franklin and DJ Speed who were on a podcast talking stuff about Pat McAfee. Don't talk about Pat McAfee. But you had guys like that. Okay, if you're all of these things you say season in and season out, well, we didn't do, we're not who we said we were. We got to show everybody. Yeah, show everybody who you say that you are consistently at every season end when you're cleaning out your locker room that next Monday. But we're not making the playoffs. Do you realize the Colts, the last time they won the division, Anthony Richardson was like in the 6th grade? Do you realize that? Let that sink in for a second. Anthony Richardson was in middle school. What? That's asinine. And then we are talking about trading AR now, obviously, and I hope that we don't. I really hope that we don't. Because if we get rid or accept and don't think for a second, I still think, and I said this the other day, I got called crazy, as I do a lot of times, and you know what? Sometimes my takes are wacky and off, but they're really not too far, more times than not. I still think AR ends up in Philly. And if we end up allowing him to go elsewhere, I think Anthony Richardson ends up in Philly. Because for the past over 10 years, the Colts have been trying to be Philadelphia West. We've taken all of Philly's sloppy seconds, any hand-me-down, pass-me-down, from general man, from, front office to coaches to players, you name it. You name it. The Colts are, you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of that hot dog meme. You know what I'm talking about? With the lady, slow motion, the hot dogs are falling all over. That's the Indianapolis Colts. That's us. Anytime the Philadelphia Eagles are like, hey, we got somebody we're getting rid of. We've got a trash quarterback. We've got a trash offensive coordinator. If you want him for head coach, we got this. We got that. I mean, that's what stop it. Fires me up. But yeah, and absolutely. I'm not big on Daniel Jones. I hope he's the guy. That's what I'm saying. So going back to when I said 6 or 7 games, that's because you have to ask yourself, are we better or worse than where we were this time a year ago? Without a doubt, we are worse. Because look at the veteran leadership that has left the locker room. And there's some of those things that are going to be avoidable. Salary cap. And that's what happens when you're paying guys like Daniel Jones $50 million or you're giving Alec Pierce almost $100 million. Like that just... That is why you had general managers like Bill Polian who will always be that Hall of Fame guy. Because he knew the recipe. You can tell somebody a recipe, just like, I don't know if you've ever cooked anything your grandma ever made, or a recipe of grandma's. You ever go home, take a recipe out of your favorite dish, that whatever it is that mom or grandma ever made, they can tell you the recipe. They can write it down exactly what they do. Hand it to you. You take it home. You do everything verbatim, just like it says on the little index card. And it tastes nothing like grandma made it. Or it tastes nothing like your mom made it. And you're like, well, what the hell? I did everything exactly as they said to do. I literally called them on the phone. They were talking me through it. Why the hell does it taste so different? Because you either have it or you don't. And you can take the recipe and building a franchise, building a winning, a playoff caliber football team and roster is the same way. Somebody can tell you how to do it. Hell, if you're not going to follow those directions, that's a big part of the problem right there. But Just because you are following someone else's recipe doesn't mean your hand's got the right a dash of this, a dash of that. Guess what else you can't train, buy, or teach? It's personality. It's likability. You know the amount of people, the amount of players that go to from college, you know, that there's guys all in the portal and NIL and everything else at the moment that are leaving or that are committed to a new school because of personality. Hell, they may be making less money than they made a year ago, but they're playing for another team because they like a coach better. He had a better personality. Or somebody else they made said the right things. That part you cannot teach. That has been a massive, massive void here in Indianapolis, right? For the Colts. Has been for quite some time. And what do? That's all right. We'll do better next year. The acceptance from Colts fans should be pissed off, pissed on a different level. But no, instead, I have Colts fans coming at me on X or Instagram or whatever else because I'm not ready to throw a god parade on Meridian Street because the Colts won 8 effing games. How? What are we doing? You do realize we have to win more than 8 games, correct? Winning 8 games, well, we're the best team in the league the first part of the season. Nobody gives a shit. That means dick all. At the end of the day, this team, the regime, and everyone else has as many playoff wins there as I do. That's it. And we have guys on this roster that are in the top 3 paid players at their position across the entire league? Hell no. If you are in the top 3 highest paid at your position and on the Indianapolis Colts, and we are not making the playoffs, boom, every single one of you is getting traded, fired, cut, something. Show me. Why should you be the top 3 at your position? There shouldn't be. Am I wrong? And that's why you've got the likes of Kenny Moore the second. The third. Second, third. Third. I love Kenny Moore. I wrote him a little hard. What was that, 2 seasons ago over a money thing? He tried to get an extension. He tried to get an extension 2 years before his contract was out. I'm like, time out, man. Pump your brakes. And he did, and he went on. And I've met Kenny Moore. I've gotten to talk to him multiple times at Pacer games. Incredible human being, man. I can't say enough good things about him. And he is an asterisk that I will say when I say there's nobody on the roster that's a damn about the city of Indianapolis. You know, that's he's one of them. And we traded Michael Pittman Jr. You know, we traded Michael Pittman Jr. Michael Pittman Jr. cared more about this city. He cared more about the team, the fans, and the city of Indianapolis day in and day out more than anybody else on this roster within the past. Hell, I can't even remember who was even close to it. Michael Pittman Jr. put his body out there every single week, and we failed him in a miserable way. I expect, and I don't even know who the hell their quarterback's going to be up there in Pittsburgh yet. Is it Aaron Rodgers again? We don't know. But I do know what. It's not going to make a difference to Michael Pittman Jr. because he has never had a consistent quarterback under center. We have had, I believe, if my memory serves me correctly, we have had a different quarterback starting the season under center for him every single year he has been here. Every year. Every year. Do you know how important as a wideout to be that guy? You know, that's what when people, we used to give Michael Pittman Jr. hell all the time when people were like, he's not a true number one wideout. Yeah, but guess what? You also have to have a guy, a franchise quarterback under center, a guy that you're doing, you know, off-season workouts with in a gym or in your high school's football field. You're getting those reps in. That is a pairing that has to be like this. They have to be like salt and pepper in order to be successful. You look at Peyton Manning, Marvin Harrison, Peyton Manning, Reggie Wade, Tom Brady, and anybody that he, you know, any of his quarterback or wideouts. You look at Joe Shiesty over in Cincinnati and his wideouts. These guys are doing the things like it's the nonverbal cues. And when you're bringing a guy in off the street from Atlanta that's been in Atlanta 35 years, or that, you know, was in Philadelphia, got run out of there, wherever, and you're like, hey, yeah, we got it here. I'm still pissed about that. Indy could have Baker Mayfield right now. Baker Mayfield, who would have been an absolute perfect fit for that Colts offense. Absolutely perfect. Not only did he would have been a perfect fit, he wanted to come to Indianapolis. Indy would have been only his second spot when Cleveland was ready to run him out on a rail. There was no downside. Instead, we went with Matt Newell or Ryan. Mayfield was 25 years old, had nothing but upside. You sign him on a year deal. You may end up having your guy, and if you don't, you draft one in 23. But here you are, I'm in Tampa. They love Baker here, and he loves them back. And I expect, I'm going to call it right now, Baker Mayfield is going to have an incredible year this year. His back's painted into a corner. He's painted into a corner again. And when does Baker Mayfield do the best? Usually when people do this about him, as they do, they paint him into a corner, and there you go. But I expect to see Baker Mayfield do big things this season. He has no Mike Evans. So people think he is really, really going to suffer, which I guess he might, but I don't expect to, I don't believe we'll see that. All right. Yeah, Viva's here. JT's fault. Yeah, absolutely. We're talking about Jonathan Taylor? So much, man. And here we go. Let's see. Sorry, Michael, if you're still here. Sorry, I just switched over, man. I didn't see, it didn't pop up that you commented, man. I had the chat from TikTok up. My bad. I apologize, brother. But yeah, there's so many things that this team could do different. We have no culture. This team has no culture any longer. And a lot of people think that that's not a big deal. I'm here to tell you that's huge. That's massive. That is absolutely massive. Alec Pierce, I love Alec Pierce. He was our 2022 first round pick. Not really, because he was drafted in the second round, but we didn't have a first round pick in 22. You want to know why? We gave it up. Wow, I just saw. Where the hell did that come from? The light just shot across the top of my ceiling. That was weird. It'll be a reflection of something. But he was our second round pick, Cincinnati. And he's great going after the long ball, right? He's somebody else that we've never had anybody that can really show off his skills. But hey, Daniel Jones, another hand-me-down, because the Indianapolis Colts, we do not shop for quarterbacks anywhere but Dollar Tree. Every once in a while we'll look at Family Dollar, maybe Dollar General, and I look at the quarterbacks who have been drafted just since this regime has been intact. And I said Temu, yes, Temu QB. And look, I loved AR. I was excited about it. I was excited. And you know what? I was excited at the opportunity to have a quarterback that we drafted, to have a quarterback where the slate was clean. However, is it all AR's fault? What the Raiders are doing is exactly as the Colts should have done, to a T. This is why when you bring Baker Mayfield in at 25 years old, you have a true quarterback competition there. You bring him in. Instead, you had Matt Ryan that couldn't finish the season. Baker Mayfield was gritty, he's dirty, he's all of the things that we needed in Indianapolis. If you want to draft AR, go ahead. You would have kept Baker there. That's what I'm saying. We go back and people want to talk about how Andrew Luck set us back, and he did. He absolutely did. But he who shall not be named, and if any of you have watched me for any amount of time, you know that I'm talking about the redheaded quarterback from Philadelphia that we cost us first round pick in the season. He set us back more than Andrew Luck. I believe it. And you look at that. Not only the season in 21, was that 21, right? Yeah. Not only the season in 21 cost us season 22. Cost the head coach's job. Should have cost the entire regime. But Frank Reich took the board on that, right? And why do we have Frank Reich as a head coach? You know why Frank Reich was our head coach? Because we screwed up and we didn't get the coach. We didn't even sign the head coach that we wanted, who's from the Patriots. You think he's not going to paint you into a corner? How? The rivalry's back on. Oh, I'm going to tell you, no, it hasn't been. We have not been able, not since the whole Deflategate, the Colts have not been able to hold the jock of the New England Patriots since. I'm sorry, I hate it. It pisses me off to no end. But this isn't hard. This is not hard. Hell, you don't go buy a car and get a price on a car without inking a deal. So you hire a head coach from a rival team, and you're like, we'll do a handshake deal, agreement on it. Meanwhile, everybody else you interviewed gets hired and goes elsewhere. That's how we ended up with Frank Reich. And then we tried to play it like, I don't know why we never thought of him to begin with. Clutch the pearls. Can't believe that. Silly us. No. He was never, Frank Reich, great offensive coordinator. But nobody ever said, you know who would be a great head coaching candidate? Frank Reich. That's why the year after, in 28, what was that, 18? That's why the year following, immediately following, he didn't interview anywhere. He wasn't already a head coach. He was the offensive coordinator for the Super Bowl champions. That's because people weren't going, that guy's got what it takes to be a head coach somewhere. And being a great offensive coordinator, or defensive coordinator, special teams, whatever the case may be, does not translate into being a great head coach. People get that twisted. Being that head coach, it changes everything. Your focus is different. You've got to look at timing, flags. You've got to pay attention to so much more. There's so many more moving pieces where you're able to just focus on the offense and whatever plays you're calling and whatever the case may be. Not to mention, this shoe is no longer has any attachment, any ties to what we were right here. None. This, I'm so grateful I was alive and around and got to experience every moment of that, because where the shoe is now is disgraceful to anybody that was on this roster. Now, they're too good to say that because they're led by Tony Dungy. That was a team with integrity and a lot of other things. It was not a roster of individuals. And that is a glaring problem we've had on West 56th Street on the west side of Indianapolis for many, many years. And yet we continue getting the same outcome. And then you've got, I'm the biggest Colts fan. Look, I ordered, look at my vintage Colts that I got. Look at my Colts haul. I'm the biggest Colts fan there is. This guy, he should sell all his Colts stuff. He doesn't agree with everything they say. That's what I hear over and over again. As they type away, like, subscribe is all I care about. They could not. These guys online that say this stuff, they come in comments. You should burn all of your Colts stuff. You should just give it to me or sell it because you're not a Colts fan. And I use the same analogy as a kid, or as being a parent. If your kid is doing poorly, if any of you out there are parents, if your child is not doing well at school, just behavior in general, they come home with, say, all F's on a report card. We won't say all F's. We'll say D minuses. But the first half of the semester, they were the best in the class. Well, but then they finished with all F's the second half of the semester. So they had D minus average. Would you say that kid is on the right path and the right track to do great things for the following year? No. Maybe they're not. And do you say, oh, that's okay. That's okay. You'll get him next year, Tiger. No. We are a product of the everybody gets a trophy generation. I have people trying to argue with me that I shouldn't be just overly excited that the Colts won 8 games, that they weren't the best offense in the league for the first part of the season. I cannot, my brain is like trying to shove a square peg in a round hole. I cannot process that. I can't. Big John, what's going on, my guy? How are you, brother man? How is it down there in the Lone Star State? You keeping my boy under control down there? It is, 2:23. I got this really cool clock and I love it because I'm always like, I don't know what time it was. I can always look at my phone or whatever else, but I have this nice digital, it's big and it's bright, that sits on my desk here. That tells me all the wind, the temperature, and all those things. When you live close to the water like we do down here, those things are kind of important. Same here. It's supposed to be 91 here tomorrow. And for those that for those that do not like that, I will tell you, I will take that over 50 every day. It's not Florida summer weather yet, but excuse me, it's close. It's getting close. I've got a giant palm tree in my front yard, which is very, very cool. There's a lot of really cool things. It's absolutely beautiful down here. It's hard to not like. Let's see. But yeah, and going back to culture, people don't put enough emphasis on locker room culture, head coach, leadership sort of things. And I said this a year ago, but I wasn't sure. I'm like, that may be a possibility, but that I think that they would need. I am 110% confident this is something that the Colts need yesterday. And I think it's absolutely something that should be done before the draft. I know it'll never happen. Not only will it not happen before the draft, I don't think it'll happen anytime soon. This team needs a president. And I know exactly who I want as president. Or GM, for that matter. But a role of a president, which some teams have, some franchises have, they bridge that gap between ownership and the general manager. And when you have someone who's new to the game, and I guess that's not fair to say Carly Ersick or any of the ladies, call them girls, but ladies are new to the game because they're not, but they are new to that role. And she's an absolute beast on the sidelines with the fashion and all of that, but that doesn't mean that she can't be great. But when it comes to making these decisions and moves that obviously someone needs to be countering what's going on and the moves we're making, we never should have agreed to mortgaging your future 2 first-round picks by a general manager and coach who were on the hot seat. Never. Never, ever, ever. If you can't do it with what you've got us here with, I shouldn't have given you an extra year to begin with a year ago, right? You're telling me all we need is another year. You want to buy in now. If you are having to ask for more credit, you are overextending. Let me tell you're overextending your budget. You're spending beyond your means, right? Am I wrong here? And that's what when I say they never told us. Nobody ever said Daniel Jones is the guy. He's our franchise guy for the future. Hell, they never told Daniel Jones that. You know how we found out? We found out because they gave up our 2 first-round picks for the next 2 seasons for a defensive back. And people say, oh, who else in the draft would you have? At that point, week 8 or whatever it was, week 10, whatever, of last season, we know what the hell was going to happen. Daniel Jones had played, 8 games? 9 games for the Colts? They're saying, who else better would you get in the draft? I don't know, hopefully a quarterback. But that's that BS, everybody gets a trophy mentality that these poser Colts fans online and social media, which none of them, find me anyone outside of me, and I think I found one, and I haven't talked to him yet. I think I've got a good one that might be vested. But everybody else that talks all this Colts nonsense, They do it because, they want to show you their hat holes from eBay and all this because they're new to the team. I've been a Colts fan since 2021. Oh, okay, all right, that's great. Then shut up. Respectfully, stay in your damn lane. Know your role. And sure as hell don't come at me and talk to me sideways. Or speak for all of Colts Nation as in some way, shape, or form a guy in Dallas, Texas is the voice of Colts Nation. It frustrates me because it makes us look like a bunch of clowns. It's embarrassing. As a Colts fan, it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing enough what the team has done up until this point and what we've allowed, but it's embarrassing tenfold when you have people posing to be Colts fans online and social media that are backing that up, that are okay with I won't say mediocre success, the lack of success. Imagine, and I won't ever compare Eagles and Colts fans, but imagine if that were Philly. Imagine. They would have police set up outside the house, and that's not what I'm saying I want. Like, nobody should go through that. However, but no one should be defending 8 wins. And you sure as hell shouldn't be going out after another Colts fan who's as old, bald, ugly like me, telling, oh, you need to sell all your stuff because you think, you don't agree with everything that's going on. What are we doing? Just stop. Just don't say anything. Just stay in your lane. Say your piece. Don't speak for the world, and definitely don't go at somebody else just because they're trying to get clicks and views. It sits me sideways. Gets in my crawl, as Granny used to say. Really, gets in my crawl. I don't know what it is. Every time I get fired up, I can't breathe. And on a personal note, I think I need to go to the doctor. I've got some other odd things going on. I don't know. I need to go to the doctor. I don't like doctors. Not that I have a personal vendetta against a doctor or anything. Something else an uncle told me a long time ago was there's 2 people you never liked in life. It's your doctor and your lawyer. Because they're both there. They get paid to save your ass. Well, or they get paid to bury your ass. So you want them to be armed with as much knowledge as possible. And thank you to whoever's tapping that screen. I appreciate you guys. If you would continue to fire that screen up, I always try to get to at least 10,000 likes. That's because looking at the metrics, and now TikTok's into their metrics and analytics more now than ever. And it's going to take me a couple more lives to get back to where. Hey, John, I appreciate you, brother. Haven't had a lot of people in here, and that's okay. I haven't been around for a while, but I will hopefully get back, trying to get back on the horse. And I'm having to use, I think somebody asked me earlier why I wasn't full screen. It's because I'm using TikTok Live Studio, and that is a separate application, and TikTok's kind of punishing me because I haven't used it. So there are certain things that I was once able to do and access on here that I no longer can because I haven't gone live at least 3 times for 25 minutes apiece on TikTok Live Studio. I'm like, huh? Like, I've literally been going live longer than I would safely say over 80% of the American population here on TikTok. Easy. I would safely say that. And they can, if they wanted to, they can find that stuff out, but so I get little, like, tips and tricks on how to go live, and they tell you you find something to talk about. I'm like, oh, Jesus criminy, are you kidding me? Hey, John, yes and no, but not what I want. I saw that. I saw an opening down to have a law enforcement what the hell is it called? Like a hiring, not convention, but like a job fair, I guess. That's coming up. I think it's in 2 weeks. I just saw it today, so I just wrote it down. And I am so far away from thinking about making a trip over to Texas because, from what I gather, it looks like it's about the same as from here in Tampa as going to Indy. But I will say this: what I have learned since all this happened, I've been badmouthed. Oh boy, have I been raked over the coals and badmouthed by my former supervisor, who we were close, we were friends. That's why I went to work for him. And it is not my doing. He's on the Brady list now. I didn't do that. That wasn't me. It had nothing to do with me. However, I've taken a big brunt of the blame from him for that, and I understand it. We haven't talked, and that's shame on me for that. I was pissed at him that he didn't call me when all this initially went on because I was in the dark, and then when I found out about it, I'm like, why hadn't he told me? Is he trying to set me up to take a fall for something he's done? Not happening. So a lot of people, and he was, did all the things within the state and whatnot. So when his fall from grace happened, he went out of his way to tell everybody Craig did that to me. And if anybody knows me, I'm not like that. I have no ill will towards anybody, especially him. I'd take a bullet for him. And I still would. He did so much for me, just in my career, and set me up in different ways just to be able to get the training and whatnot. And I went to work for him. Like it wasn't like it was somebody I knew from the sheriff's department. I literally went to, took the offer because I knew him, and I went to go work for him. But that's what happens when you have adults that don't communicate. When communication breaks down, you have where we're at now. And I know this has happened because I've been ghosted on two separate jobs that I was overly qualified for. So, no, not Sadler. No, Jack Sadler, he's somebody else that I can say that's been nothing but good to me, and I have nothing bad to say about him. And I will tell you, I talked to damn near every deputy that was on that department, and at some point in time about him, and couldn't really, I really don't think I've ever heard anybody say anything bad about him. A lot of people love working for Jack Sadler. They may not like some of the things he is because he's kind of old school like me, squared away uniform type of guy, which I like, and I love that. If anybody ever complained about him, it was like that. But like when he allowed the guys to start wearing beards, they had to be very, good-looking beards. That's something I never would have agreed to. But I guess from what I learned, one of the deputies had some sort of exemption or medical reason that they had to wear a beard. So if you let one, you have to kind of let them all. So that's where that came from. T-Rex, what's good? It was the chief I went to work for out there for the schools that made the news frequently. Put it this way. The first thing I had to do when I became chief, when I became interim, and he had separated, I had to filing a police report was one of the first things I did within the first 5 minutes of having the reins. And that was because to protect my own neck. Just say, hey, this is what I see, this is what, and that wasn't, and I worked very hard on not trying to make it a big blown up ordeal. And it didn't. It wasn't even anything that went into the reason that they separated from him. like I said, that was after the fact. But I took a lot of blame for it, obviously. That's all right. But something's going to pop up. I hope and pray at some point in time. Like my life has been, the reset button on it has been hit. I miss so much about my old life. I do, because I was happy. I mean, for the most part, I say that I loved Avon. I loved most of the people I worked with, the community, the students, neighboring law enforcement agencies. I loved all of that, and I just didn't like how some things were done, how they were done to me, and then the guy that they brought in over me, it didn't earn, he hadn't really earned a spot, and that's, they chose him over me, which was fine, and I accepted that. Like, I wasn't, a lot of people wouldn't have been able to do what I did. I kept my rank, I kept all of those things, and once this guy got out of me what he needed enough to where he learned the job a little bit, because he'd never even been a corporal. He'd never had any kind of supervisory experience in law enforcement at all. So to go from that as a school cop to be the chief of police of a roster of officers that have spent the majority of their career on the street or outside of schools doesn't always work, and it didn't. So I tried to do all the things that I could to make things good and get along, and it didn't work out. I should have left when I had the opportunity. What pisses me off is I allowed somebody the satisfaction of doing that to me. That's shame on me. But that's how I got this old, bald, and ugly. But really, I don't hold any ill will towards anyone. I really don't. Like, I'm frustrated by, how things worked out. But I know everything happens for a reason, the good, the bad, the ugly. And that's been hard for me to accept. I tell people that all the time. It's been very, very hard for me to accept and to get accustomed to, but here we are. You either continue to play victim, which does not help you at all, or you pick yourself up by the bootstraps and you keep on going to wherever the good Lord wants you to go. And that's, I guess that's the part I haven't a clue. I don't know where the good Lord wants me yet. And I think I'm doing the things that I should be doing, and asking Him. But hell, is anything really permanent in this world? Maybe I'm looking at things through the wrong vision. And I'd always talked about wanting to do more of this. That's why I'm like, I never have time. I've got a full-time job. And I said at the beginning of last year, I'm like, 2025 is the year. Like, I'm going to fully engulf in social media and the podcast and everything else. Well, within by the first month in January, I had the most viral video anywhere in the world for like 5 straight weeks. With the pizza delivery video. But that ended up going south. I ended up getting written up for that, among other things. And I backed off all of it. So you're going to see me doing more of this while I can, and put a little bit more time and effort into it. So please like, share. If I know there's only 13 people in here at the moment, but please, even if you don't have a YouTube account, which you probably do and you just don't know it, please go to YouTube and subscribe to my YouTube channel. I should be live there right now unless something's happened and I haven't looked. But that is I really am shooting. I need 1,000 subscribers on YouTube, and I'm a long way away from it. But I really need to focus on that. And the 2 guarantees in the world: death and taxes. Yep. Another one of my uncles, my uncle Dave used to always say, "Taxes in the rent. Taxes in the rent." What's going on? It's the taxes in the rent. Yeah, I understand it, but I don't have to do anything in this life but die and pay taxes. But yeah, Big John, I think I told you I'd interviewed. Always the bridesmaid, never the bride with me. I was a bridesmaid in another position down there that I'd interviewed for, and I didn't get great positive feedback from them, which is completely acceptable as a professional, and especially in a leadership role. If you talk about, being a leader and all things, and it's an administrative type of position that you don't get, that you get, you're, I won't say strung along, but you go along in the hiring process and you don't get it, it's absolutely acceptable to ask why. And not say, why did I get this job? No, it's like, hey, if you're truly just looking to get better, hey, looking for any pointers or any feedback that you may be able to share with me on what went into that decision, or where I could, any get betters, for lack of a better term. Big John, God bless you, man. Thank you, brother. Thank you. And to anybody else that may have been tapping that screen, but I have a feeling Big John's been working them thumbs to the nail, brother. But the last one I was talking about that, I didn't even get brought in for an in-person. It was on the phone, and I know I ended up finding out the other people that interviewed for this role, and I was grossly overqualified and more qualified for this position than anybody that left was, anybody that they brought back into the next level. So when I asked, hey, looking for any, feedback or pointers or whatnot, I got crickets. And that happens sometimes. But that's when you usually know, okay, it had nothing to do with you, your background, your experience, over experience, lack of experience, tends to be something on a personal level at that point. But man, I cannot breathe. Has anybody here a fan of the MCU, the Marvel Cinematic Universe? You a fan of the Avengers, Endgame, any of those, any of the movies in the MCU? And I bring this up because December 18th is a day that I have circled on the calendar, and that is Doomsday. That will be the day that Avengers Doomsday and Doom 3 both come out and are released in theaters. I'm a big fan of Doom 1 and 2. Loved them both. Also, I didn't read the comics, whatnot, but my son did. So when all of the Avengers movies came out, that was something that I was able to, when he was in high school, I'd go pick him up. We'd go on Thursday night. We'd go to the 10 o'clock showing, and, he'd stay up as late as it was, and we'd be there for a 3-hour movie. And I'm so glad that I did. Like, that was so cool to experience that with him in theaters, especially Endgame. But, where I am now, compared to where I was when he was dragging me to those movies, I understand what's going on in those movies now, and I'm a much bigger fan now than I was then. But they still haven't shown the trailer for Doomsday, and as most of you know, whether you're a fan of Marvel movies or not, Robert Downey Jr., RDJ, was Iron Man, right? And spoiler alert, he was Iron Man and ended up passing away and dying as Iron Man. Well, In this one, he is coming back, and not only is he coming back, he is coming back as a bad guy as Doom, Doctor Doom, which is a big twist. All these movies are all, they have different shows, and it's all intertwined together, which is the cool part about it. And it goes into the time-space continuum, and the fact that RDJ is coming back, that, he died as a good guy as Iron Man, he's coming back as this evil villain, is cool. But a lot of people don't understand it. And I don't blame them at all. Like, it's hard to process, man. It sure is. When I got to 18, reminds me of another blue and white 18 that I used to be a big fan of. But I was gifted this. This is not a product of any crime. It was gifted this by, also have a name tag by a student that was a employee, and not just employee, but a manager at Culver's. And then this, I don't have much of this stuff. I had like a tote or two of my stuff that made it. Like, a lot of my figures and whatnot are long gone, and a few of them I still have a storage facility in Indiana, but I lost most of them. But we got this Super Bowl Shuffle, and if none of you know what this is, in 1985, I've been a Colts fan. We just got in the Colts season before. In 1985, man, Jim Harbaugh, number 9 of the Chicago Bears, excuse me, which at that time the Chicago Bears were still pretty much the home team in the city of Indianapolis, in the state of Indiana. Jim Harbaugh, the funky QB known as McMahon, as a 9-year-old me, like he was everything, man. He had the spiky hair, the sunglasses, the Adidas or the Roselle, neckband, because believe it or not, back then, the whole rule behind that is you were not allowed to show any brand logos on your uniform. Imagine that. Look how far we've come. And not in a good way, ladies and gentlemen. Jim McMahon had to pay money. He was fined because of showing an Adidas logo. Go back to Reggie Wayne being fined for wearing orange gloves. Orange to support leukemia, as his head coach lying in a hospital bed fighting for his life, dying from leukemia. And now we live and that wasn't too long ago. Now we live in a world where a college sophomore is getting paid $7.5 million to go play football. Going to be the Indiana Bears in a couple of years. Big John, I really hope so. I really, truly hope that happens, because there's a lot of people from Indiana, and I don't think it has it has nothing to do with the Colts, and they won't take away from the Colts and all of that, their fan base. Well, no, I'm not still at BD, man. Thank you for asking. That's that was another one that turned me down as of late here. Somewhere I gave 6 long years to, but no, I'm not. No, I'm not at Wayne at all. I left Wayne in 2020 and went to Avon. Roger Cannell needs to be fired as commissioner. Look, he hadn't done anything for me, so I can't really back him up. Well, I know it. I tried to go back here not too long ago, and I couldn't. I'm out of state. I'm actually in Florida, and they wouldn't allow me to do the first interview over the phone or a Zoom. And a place I'd been 6 years, so they just took me out of the process. I'm like, well, okay, I'm buying a plane ticket just to meet with you for the first time. Like if I my 6 years there didn't let you know kind of SRO I was, then I don't know what would, me coming in for 30 minutes definitely ain't going to tell you that. But again, it goes back to people that have personal vendettas or feel some sort of way. Rashid Rice should have got 8 games for his drunk. Oh yeah, I'm telling you, there's so much. Like the NFL has things so backwards, man. And Big John, now that you're here, too, I talked about this the other night. You've probably heard me bitch about this before. Excuse my language. You've probably heard me complain about it before. And shout out to Jake Query from 107.5 The Fan in Indianapolis, who first brought this to my attention, 3 or 4 years ago. And I'm like, you know what? Yeah, I've worked just about everything there could be, especially at IMS, Indianapolis Motor Speedway. The NFL, in there, we have over 1 million people in attendance at the draft thing, is absolute nonsense. They don't sell tickets. They just throw a number out there, and they try to sell the idea that in some way, shape, or form, over 1 million people are showing up to watch the draft in person. The frozen look is me being dumbfounded, because you're talking to people who lived and grew up in Indianapolis. That every single year on Memorial Day weekend, on the Sunday before Memorial Day, we fill up the historic, the legendary, the one-of-a-kind Indianapolis Motor Speedway on the west side of Indianapolis to the max and fill it full of 350 to 400,000 people over the area of a 2.5-mile oval. It's the largest single-day sporting event anywhere in the world. And if it's not on your bucket list, please, listen to your old friend Alex Craig and take my advice. Definitely put that on your bucket list to attend the 500, because there's nothing else on the planet Earth that you will go to that's anything like it. It is really that cool. Definitely nothing here in the United States. But for the NFL to try to tout that they have over 1 million people showing up over 2 city blocks in downtown Nashville, or now they have the city of Pittsburgh reaching out to IMPD in Indianapolis saying, the NFL told us to expect 1 million people. Well, the NFL's full of it. Like, not only would it be equal to that, what's in the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, they're trying to say that over 3 times, over 3 times the amount of people that are in attendance for the Indy 500 are going up and showing up to watch players be drafted in the first night of the draft. Yeah, same thing going back on day 2 and 3. I have wrote letters, I have sent emails, I have reached out to every contact I have within the National Football League, and these are contacts that have gotten back with me on anything else. Crickets. I had one that said, you know what? That's a really good point and question. I'll let you know when I can find out. And then crickets, never to be spoken about again. I had also heard a rumor that, and this could be completely nonsense, so I'm just saying for entertainment purposes only, in theory, because this was nothing but a rumor, that it was said that if Indianapolis ever hosted the draft, it would not be held at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. And that makes you think, well, why not? That's a place that is, and we're talking stands only. You know, grandstands all the way around. And the infield. Why would you want to hold it there? Because you don't think it's going to fit everybody? Is that why? Because I tell you what, I would bet it wouldn't fill up 2 turns at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. It wouldn't fill up the home stretch. And that's just... And I got a question over in my other chat. No, I don't smoke. I don't smoke cigars. I don't like the things. This has been something that I've picked up during all the stressful times. It's good. I can buy it. It's nasty. My wife calls it my fidget, and it is kind of my fidget. So I'll get one. It tastes good. We get flavored ones, especially down here, handmade Cubans, like this one. I've got a cigar plug down here in Tampa, but it's good to me, and it's done me right. So I will say Tarpon Springs. So if any of you are ever in Tarpon Springs, big shout out to Dreams of Cuba, Cigars by Lazaro. If you're ever there, check them out at the Sponge Docks in Tarpon Springs. This is his dad runs the little shop there in Tarpon at the Sponge Docks, but it's his son's business. Check him out. Family-run business. They've got great stuff, as far as I know. I couldn't tell you what they taste like if you're into, smoking. So I am not. Guys, it is 3:01. Saturday, April the 18th here on the East Coast. It is Superman Day, and I saw that earlier today as I was scrolling through some things, but I don't know what that means. I asked my daughter that. I have no idea what that means. But yes, the draft is quickly approaching, 5.5 days, and I circle it on your calendar if it's not there yet, but please come on back. We'll do it here like we do every draft night on the first round, and this will be. I didn't think I was going to do it this year. Up until about a week ago, I'm like, you know what? I can't miss it. So I intend to be back live every day until then, at least. So please circle it on your calendar, please. If you don't have anybody else, even if you do have anybody else, you tell them to come here too. And you'll hear me complain about how the Colts don't have a first-round pick. But we'll sit here and we'll go over draft picks and outcomes and mock drafts and all of the things. So I appreciate those of you that have joined tonight, and I appreciate those of you that have stuck around. Again, if you're new here, please hit that follow button. Subscribe to me on YouTube. If you're on Twitter or X, please give me a follow there as well. But it's at Officer Craig on TikTok and YouTube, at The Officer Craig on Instagram and Twitter. But please, come on back. We'll be back later tomorrow afternoon, early evening. We'll do this again. Like I said, I intend on doing this every night up till Thursday night, which will be draft night. So plan on spending your draft night here, or at least with me in an earshot. We'll solve all the NFL's problems together. So thank you all so much. I need to get off here and go to bed. I can't breathe anymore. So I will see you all tomorrow. As I end every live, I try to leave you with this. It doesn't cost anything to be nice. It doesn't. And you never know what somebody's going through, man. You really don't. So if you interact with a cashier or, somebody out in public and they tell you you're number one or they're just really rude to you, I ask you to do this. Show some empathy and some grace. Because I guarantee you, each one of us in an earshot of me right now has been given grace by another human being at a time when you didn't deserve it. I know I'm very, very guilty of that. So keep that in mind. You know, what I've gone through the past few months, I couldn't even begin to tell any of you guys the complexity and the full extent of how bad things have been. And it's been a lot. It's been a lot, and it's been rough, man. And there have been times where I've had to go out in public, and I've been less than kind. There's people that that have reached out to me that I haven't responded to, that probably think I'm an ass, and that's not why. It's just because I've been, I haven't had anything really good to talk about. I'm alive and breathing. That's a good thing. But aside from that, as far as small talk and how I'm doing, it's a lot to go over and relive and to bring back up and all of that. Especially when I haven't made it out. I'm still in the shit, for lack of a better term. But this too shall pass, as my mom used to tell me. And it will. It will. Hopefully a lot sooner rather than later. But until then, we're going to talk football, try to keep my mind focused on that and better things ahead. And if any of you are out there, you check out that GoFundMe. My link's in the bio. If you feel it on your heart to assist in any way, shape, or form, I had a good friend of mine, they're a much better friend now, for kind of putting my story out there, and I just hadn't told anybody anything except for a very, very small handful of people. And he asked if he could do it. I said, yeah, because that way I don't have to relive it and tell it. So if you get anything out of it, great. If I don't, I just saw DeJuan get hurt on a replay of this game. Damn. DeJuan Jones. So we're going to hopefully bring him on here some point in time. But again, it's been a while. But anywho, God bless each and every one of you. Thank you for hanging out. Please make plans to come back Thursday night, if not before. Make sure you subscribe, like, follow, do all of the things. I appreciate you. Thank you. God bless each and every one of you. Have a wonderful weekend. If I don't get to talk to you again, please reach out. Thank you to all of you on YouTube, X, Twitter, and TikTok. So have a wonderful rest of your morning, night, whichever it is, wherever you are. Enjoy your weekend. And again, like I said, check out the GoFundMe in my bio on TikTok. And if you feel it on your heart to help share with others, I greatly appreciate it. Thank you so much. I will see you all and talk to you all very, very soon.